All right. Hey guys, it's Sammy. Welcome to the masterclass for the blueprint for anti-inflammation. So I just wanted to welcome you. Thanks for coming. Thanks for taking the time to listen. If you're listening to this on a recording. And I just wanted to share a little bit about me before we get started and before we get into talking about inflammation and what a program might look like for you to get that reduced. So I have been training for 5+ years. I'm certified as a personal trainer, as a corrective exercise specialist, and also as a nutritional coach through NASM. So just to tell you a little bit about my story with chronic inflammation. So I started actually dealing with the chronic inflammation. It started way back when I was in high school. Say I'm 46 now. So started when I was in high school, started with food poisoning. And then when I was pregnant with my twins, I ended up with food poisoning again. And then I ended up getting strep when I was pregnant with my youngest, and he is now 19, almost 20. So from there, it just progressed. IBS was actually the first red flag for me. Went to the doctor, and she tried to give me some meds that didn't really do anything for me. So I started my journey of learning how to deal with that with nutrition, the best that I possibly could, to the best of my knowledge and ability at that point. So I struggled with digestive issues for the last 19 years. And then the health complications that followed. So leaky gut, fatigue, iron deficiency, brain fog, hormonal imbalances, adrenal fatigue, joint pain, muscle pain, and tightness that just would not go away. And those are some of the main things that I dealt with as a cause because of that inflammation in my system. And I just want to use what I've learned now that I am free of that, now that I've walked that road and I have walked the road to healing. I just want to use what I've learned to help others heal. So that's why I've developed this program. So really, to reduce inflammation, it means that you would finally be able to lose that weight that you've been struggling to lose, gain muscle, increase energy, and improve focus. So if you're one of those execs and business owners who have been putting in the effort and not seeing the results, it may be that inflammation could be the roadblock for you. So I believe that the belief shift that needs to happen for you is really discovering what that root of the inflammatory symptoms are. So let's talk about inflammation first. Inflammation, it's just the immune system's response to infection or injury. Okay, so white blood cells are sent out, like when you get a cut. Swelling happens initially, but as the cut heals, the swelling goes down. Inflammation can also be a help to the body to fight bacteria and viruses. So initially, inflammation can be positive. The problem is that when chronic inflammation happens, the body's immune response is just constantly activated, and it can't turn that inflammatory response off. And the negative impacts of that, we'll talk about symptoms, but right now let's talk about possible reasons that this happens. Number one, persistent infection. So example from my story, I ended up with bacteria in my system because of the food poisoning and because of the strep. I had a bacterial infection that spread throughout my system. So there was a persistent infection that happened for me that needed to be remedied. And that was why the inflammatory response was just turned on a regular basis for me. Autoimmune diseases, diseases, either one, they can also be a reason why the inflammatory response is happening, but that can also be something that it's a cycle, a domino effect. Actually, those can be activated by persistent infection, but then the inflammatory response it continues to increase. when it's not dealt with. Number 3, prolonged exposure to irritants. So chemicals, cleaning solutions, highly processed foods, antibiotics, those types of things. So on a regular basis, most of us are exposed to these type of things, unless you are taking the initiative to remove those things from your diet and from your home. So, two of the main things that I would say for most people is they're constantly eating prepackaged foods. So that is what I would consider processed foods. Prepackaged foods that you have to unwrap most of the time, those are highly processed. Antibiotics is another thing that the more that you expose to that, can cause inflammatory response, because you're not only killing the good bacteria, the bad bacteria, but you're also killing the good bacteria. And so that will lead to inflammatory response as well. Number 4, excess weight gain, or just carrying excess weight for a long period of time. That can cause an inflammatory response in your body, that can affect your heart, lungs, joints, your organs can be affected in various ways by having that excess weight on you. So weight loss can definitely help with that. But there are a lot of things that you need to do to get to the root so that you can lose the weight, so that you can reduce the inflammation. It's a domino effect there as well. Number 5 is stress levels. So if you have a high stress level and it's a prolonged period of having that high stress level, that can disrupt your immune system and cause inflammation as well. Aging is another one. Just invariably, we age. As we age, our immune systems can become less efficient at regulating the inflammatory response. And so this can cause some chronic inflammation, unless, of course, you're taking care of yourself in a way that is reducing the inflammation on a regular basis. So here's what we're going to cover. We're going to cover the steps to take to discover the inflammation. And there's simple steps that you can take to discover what the source of that inflammation is. Many times I can identify problem areas without even having tests done, because the symptoms that you have are powerful tells about what's going on in your system. Number 2, the types of foods to eliminate to begin reducing inflammation. So there are some major inflammatory foods that you can begin removing even today to help reduce symptoms that you're having. Number 3, how to adapt your workouts so that you're working with your body and not against it. Many times people with inflammation are ignoring the signs and symptoms and listening to what most trainers and fitness experts are telling them, which is to push harder, work out harder, and you'll see the results. And the problem is with this is if you have inflammation in your system, this doesn't work for you. It will only make the problem worse. And so you need to be super careful about that. If you believe that inflammation is a problem for you, then it needs to be dealt with before you begin pushing harder and working harder. So why I believe you struggle to get the results you want. Number 1, inflammation, it's your number 1 roadblock. Many people have inflammation in their system and just don't even realize it, because they just write things off, symptoms off, as this is just how I'm feeling, I'm just tired, or this is just how it's going to be. It doesn't have to be that way. But here's the thing, if your body is reacting negatively to certain foods that you're eating regularly, then that's just going to continue to not only increase the inflammation response in your body, but the cycle will just continue. Okay. Inflammatory responses are causing other health challenges that leave you fatigued and unfocused. When you have, example from my story, dealing with leaky gut. Leaky gut can then cause, so leaky gut is when you have little holes in your intestinal walls. It's simply put. And so what's happening is when you're eating foods, those things are getting into your bloodstream where they should not be, and causing the body to basically attack. itself, essentially, because it's got foreign substances that need to be removed. And so the problem is that one, just a simple example of a health challenge that can come because of leaky gut, and the fatigue that happens, or possibly even adrenal fatigue or deficiencies in certain vitamins and minerals that can happen. So those things happen because the walls in your intestines have holes. And so you're not absorbing the nutrients that you need to. And so then what happens is you become deficient in those things, or things just don't work as well as they should be because you're not absorbing the nutrients that you need. And so you're not able to function to the best of your ability. So that's just one simple example of ways that other health challenges can come when you're dealing with an inflammatory response like leaky gut. Okay. So number two, you're following the wrong program. So if you dive into a diet or a workout routine without properly addressing your current health status, that can be a big problem. It's so much more than just eating healthy. And it's so much more than just working out harder. Because that could actually be making things worse. So sometimes what happens is you need a complete overhaul on your diet. Sometimes you need just a few things taken out so that we can get the inflammatory response reduced in your system so that you can be functioning to the best of your ability. For myself, I was still on a regular basis eating foods that were feeding the bacteria that was in my system. And so that was continuing to increase the inflammatory response in my body. And I tried everything. I tried every diet that seemed to make sense for IBS. And I continued to push myself hard in my workouts, only draining myself and increasing the inflammation there. So we just want you to be careful that you are looking at all of the pieces before you move forward on any programs, on any workout programs or diets. They need to address your problem. They need to address the inflammation if you believe that that's something that's going on for you. What you don't need to continue to follow fad diets. The fad diets are not going to work for you because they don't take into account the inflammation in your system. You don't need to continue researching because there's so much information out there, guys. There's so much information on the internet that you can literally just Google. And the problem there is that you could be getting conflicting information and not know exactly what needs to happen. So you could be following one thing that would actually be causing you more problems, thinking that it's the right solution. Example is if you look up, a diet for IBS or a diet for SIBO, which is small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. If you look those things up, you're going to get a ton of different diets. They're not all the same. They're not going to give you the same information. And so how do you know? How do you know what's going to work best for you? How you know is you need someone who's actually experienced in it, who's walked through it. And that's what I've done. I've walked through this. This has been my life. And so you need someone who's going to walk through it with the experience and knowledge that they have to help you walk through it successfully. You don't need 8 hours of time each week to work out. Actually, working out for that much, especially if you have inflammation in your system, it's only going to make the problem worse. And what happens there is that your system, especially if you're doing the wrong type of exercise, and when I say the wrong type of exercise, I mean too intense. If it's too intense, and sometimes you don't even know what that is until next day. Say next day after, a really good workout, you felt really good during the workout, but the problem is the next day you are exhausted, you're fatigued, you just don't even feel like you have, the focus or energy that you need to accomplish your task that day. A lot of times what's happened is you've overtaxed your nervous system. And so you need to be super careful that you are doing the right type of exercise for you and the right amount, the right time limit. And that's going to be something that's very important moving forward. So you also don't need to cut calories to the point of starvation. Most people think that, if I just eat less, then I'm going to be able to see the results I want. You'd actually be surprised. Most people don't eat enough food, but especially with this, you're already tired enough as it is. You need to make sure you're eating enough food. And so that's where I come in, is helping you to know how much food you can be eating. And you'd be surprised. You can actually eat more than you thought and still lose weight. If weight loss is your goal, you'll still be able to. So what do you need? So first and foremost, we need to understand the root cause of the inflammation. So examples of that, like we talked about before, food sensitivities, gut issues, autoimmune disorders, environmental exposures, those type of things. We need to get to the root. What's causing it? The cycle's only going to continue. You need a nutritional plan that removes the inflammatory causes, and it helps you to begin to heal. If you continue to eat inflammatory foods, the cycle is going to continue. A workout plan. You need a workout plan that does not overtax your nervous system, causing further damage. If you continue to work out longer and harder, the cycle is only going to continue. You see where this is going. So the right expert, you need the right expert to help you understand what you're going through, and more importantly, the adjustments that need to be made. So for example, let's just talk about some of the main inflammatory foods that you could be removing today. These are just some small examples. Red meat, processed foods. I know most people don't like to hear about that, the red meat, but processed foods like lunch meats, and prepackaged snacks like crackers and chips, and high sugar foods, and drinks, and then alcohol. These can be some of the inflammatory foods that if you remove or at least reduce, you may begin to see some changes, but we definitely need to dig deeper. You need to dig deeper so that you know, because there's a lot of times these are just some of the big ones. And you need to dig deeper because there's a lot of smaller ones that could be causing problems. That I found that out after walking this road, is that some of the things that I thought were healthy were actually still causing me problems. And so it is important to dig past this, but these are definitely some ideas for you to start removing if you think inflammation is an issue for you. So working harder, it's not the answer, guys. You as executives and business owners, you're hard workers. I know you. It's just a part of who you are, okay? But the problem with the mentality of work harder is that working harder, it doesn't always solve the problem when you're dealing with inflammation. So you don't have to work out more. You don't have to cut calories. You don't have to research a bunch of diets or try to find the perfect workout routine. So just understand that getting your results here is not about pushing harder. It's about leaning in and learning what's going on with your body so you can begin to work with your body and not against it. So, finding out the foods that need to be removed, finding out what type of exercise is going to be best for you and how much, and moving forward with those things, and not following cookie cutter programs, and not starving yourself. You're already tired enough as it is. Cutting calories at this point, it's only going to make you more tired. So we don't want that. And really the problem with that is a lot of times if you cut calories too much, you're only going to hold on to the weight that you have, not lose it. That's a surprising thing for a lot of people. So customization, it's key. Tons of people are talking about this, you guys. They're offering customized programs. You hear it everywhere. And let me be honest, lots of those programs, they can get some great results. They really can. The problem is that you are going to be hard pressed to find a program that is customized to deal with inflammation, to deal with these specific issues that we're talking about today. So just following a cookie cutter program out there for a meal plan just because it says it's healthy, or it's even paleo. I love paleo recipes, but it doesn't mean that it's going to work for you specifically. That's where customization is key, because just to follow a paleo program doesn't mean that you've completely removed the foods that are inflammatory for you, because it's not going to be the same for everybody. So that's where it's very important that we look at specifically what's going on with you. So if it'd be helpful, I'm just going to walk you through this, show you how I do this with my clients. So, example is of Bethany, my client that I'm working with right now. She'd been trying other programs. She'd tried a meal planning program called Eat to Perform, and she had had great results with it in the past. It just wasn't working for her anymore. And she'd tried CrossFit in the past, and that didn't work for her as well because of the inflammatory response, just too intense for her. Even the kickboxing, she was enjoying it, but it was not giving her the results that she wanted. She wasn't able to lose weight until we started our program. And I got her on an anti-inflammatory meal plan that was specific to her. And that was when she began to see the results. She began to lose the 1 to 2 pounds a week. She began to find that she was feeling better mentally. And as it progressed, and it took a little bit of time, because as you walk through a program like this, there's going to be some detox that can happen, because we're getting some of the junk out of your system. And so it took a little bit of time, but then she started to see her energy level was starting to come up, and she was starting to feel better physically in ways she hadn't for a while. So she is now 5 weeks in and almost 15 pounds down, which is super exciting for her. But just wanted to give you a quick example of what that would look like, what I do with my clients. And the reason why those programs did not work for her, the reason is because they didn't take into account the inflammation that she had in her body. So she had, like I said, had great results with some of those things in the past, but they weren't working for her anymore because they didn't take into account. She had Lyme disease, and she's had other health challenges that have come because of that. And because she had those things going on, she needed something that was specific to her and to her inflammatory responses that she had going on. So my program is 4 pillars, okay? And this is for optimal health. So we've got the whole health inventory, purposeful and sustainable nutrition, health and nutrition prescribed exercise, and accountability and check-ins. So let's just walk through this, okay? Whole health inventory. So part of what I start with, not part of what I start with, is blood work to identify food sensitivities and hormonal imbalances. And this is for both men and women. When I say hormonal imbalances, I think a lot of people think just women, but this is for men as well. Because if you have an imbalance in testosterone or even estrogen, yes, you've got that, then it can impact your energy level. It can impact your weight. There's a lot of things that hormones impact that you just don't even think about. Mood changes as well. So we start out with blood work to identify food sensitivities and hormonal imbalances, so that we can know what's affecting you negatively, and know if there's any imbalance that's hindering you from losing the weight that you want to lose, if that's your goal. So one example of an imbalance, so stress hormone. If stress hormone levels are elevated, that can at the very least cause weight gain, fatigue, and mood changes. And those things are never fun to deal with, right? So we want to definitely make sure that those things are identified, so that moving forward, we can deal with those things so that you can break through and begin to see the changes that you want. So an in-depth assessment is next. It's an in-depth assessment of your current health status, previous surgeries and injuries, nutritional habits, and lifestyle. What this does is this identifies problem areas in your current diet, And it helps to make changes so that we can work on decreasing inflammation. And it also identifies problems in your current workout routine. And it makes the changes so that we can work with your body and not increasing the inflammation, but reducing it and helping you to build the muscle and lose the weight that you want to. So next is purposeful and sustainable nutrition. So this is a data-driven approach to nutrition. Nutrition is really honestly going to be number one key to you reducing the inflammation, losing weight, and increasing energy. So I have a 3-phase approach on this. So first one, I call it focused. Okay, so you first apply data from the blood work results and the assessment to create a plan that helps to reduce inflammation, which allows you to begin to see the physical and mental improvements pretty quickly. So just like Bethany, 5 weeks in, she's already seen the improvements because we plugged those things right in and we got her started right away on a meal plan that was going to help her to begin to reduce that inflammation and see some changes. So next is educational. So once that inflammation is effectively reduced, the focus then turns to learning the optimal nutrition balance for you as an individual. Not everybody's the same. You can't follow a cookie cutter program. Not everybody needs the same amount of carbohydrates. So that's just a simple example. Not everybody needs the same amount of protein. And so really it's us learning what your body needs. Okay. And learning is key to sustaining. So if you're doing something, following something without knowing why you're doing it, then it makes it harder for you to sustain it, right? So we want you to learn what you need to learn so that you can carry it out. And the last phase is sustainable. So applying what you've learned, you have the confidence to make the healthiest nutritional decisions for you as an individual, so that you can look and feel your best. That's what we want for you. So next is health and nutrition prescribed exercise. So this is time efficient and appropriate workout plan for you, not for Joe over here. It's for you. Okay. So we plan what you need for what you can handle. You don't have to work out for an hour or more to get results. And I know a lot of people feel like they do, especially executives and business owners. I think you get in your head that if I work harder, I'm going to see the results that I want. And the issue is we want something that's efficient for you, that's not going to tax your nervous system more than it needs to be taxed, so that we can reduce the inflammation, so that you can begin to see those changes that you want in your body, so that you can begin to see the tone and the muscle building that you want. So just know you don't have to work out for an hour to get the results that you want. And the beauty of my program, one, it's got the higher level of flexibility than group classes and personal training does, because you're able to do the workout. It's time efficient. So we're talking 30 to 45 minutes. And really, honestly, that's probably the most that you're going to want to work out if you have inflammation in your system. But you think that group classes and personal training, you have a certain time period, and it's on their time frame. Okay. And so this you're able to do in your time frame when you can fit it into your schedule. You don't have to work around anybody else. Okay. So that's the beauty of working with me with this program, is that you're going to be able to do it when it works for you. And it also helps you to lose weight while alleviating fatigue, aches, and joint pain, and increasing energy. We don't want you feeling at the end of the day or even halfway through the day, like you need to take a nap, like you need to curl up on the couch and take that nap, or you need to try and pump yourself full of caffeine just so that you can have the energy you need to finish off the day and feel focused. So, an example is my client, Bethany. She was used to doing long and hard workouts doing CrossFit, but they only left her extremely fatigued and not seeing the results that she wanted. So just know that the high intense workouts, they are probably not the best option for you right now. If you love them, I'm not saying you can't get back to them. I'm just saying right now, until you have dealt with the inflammation in your system, they're most likely not going to be the best bet for you. Okay. So accountability and progress checks is last. So this gives you, my program gives you a high level of accountability and support weekly. It helps you to maintain progress and stay on track. Even if you're having to travel and do a lot of social events, you have the ability to modify. We have the ability to work together and modify things that are needed to be modified throughout the process. So you have encouragement from the data as we go, as we continue on. We take pictures, we weigh in, we measure, those type of things so that you can actually see the data. You can see the changes. My client Bethany, it's been cool to see her be able to, as we checked in at that first month check-in, to do the weigh and measure and all of that, to see the change. I mean, she lost almost 10 inches. She, had lost at that point when we first weighed in, she had lost like, I think 13 pounds at that point. And so for her, that was motivating. The first month of the program was a little rough in getting used to, the inflammatory diet and the changes that she had to make, but to see the progress as she went, it made it so much easier for her and kept her motivated. So those check-ins, the measurements and looking at that data, that can be tremendously important. So just know, I love this saying, if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. So just understand from that, what I mean is not every program is for everyone. You need the right tool. You need the right program that is specific to you. Fitness and nutrition, it cannot be a one-size-fits-all thing. There are a lot of great coaches out there, but they don't all understand how to deal with inflammation. My own life experience with the chronic inflammation, it's equipped me to help others who are also dealing with it. So just know you need someone who understands your problem and is able to navigate the road with you to the road of healing. Okay. My process, it's designed specifically for you. Okay. So results-driven executives and business owners with demanding schedules. And if you're tired of trying all the fad diets, eating healthy, but still not losing the weight, working out harder, but not seeing any of the physique changes, and dealing with symptoms like fatigue, bloating, gas, aches and pains, headaches, brain fog. I'm going to throw in there anxiety, depression. Some of those things can come with the inflammation as well. And so if you're tired of dealing with those things, you need a program that's designed for you to help alleviate those things. Just know I've tried it all. I've ignored the symptoms. I've worked out harder and longer. I've tried many of the fad diets. I've removed so many foods from my diet and continued to deal with the symptoms. So it's really about figuring out exactly what you need and applying that to a plan that's specific to you. Okay. You need customization through this. And it's just been through my own experience that I have helped, I've learned and I've grown, and this program itself, it's been developed through my own experience. Experience can be one of the most powerful learning tools. And I just want to learn, use what I've learned. I just want to use it to help others so that they can not only look their best, but more importantly, to feel their best. That's my plan. That's my heart. That's my passion. Okay. So why do my clients work with me? So number one, it's going to save them time. Okay. So as a busy executive or a business owner, you don't have the time to spend the hours needed to sift through the endless amount of information out there. You need something customized to your needs by someone who has the expertise and the experience to know what you need. And number two, they start seeing results. Okay. So stop jumping from diet to diet, doing all the right things and working out harder and longer, not seeing the results you want. A program that's designed for you it's going to help you begin to see the results that you want so that you can be the healthiest version of yourself possible. I want you to be able to look and feel your best. Okay. So if you're interested in learning more, let's schedule a call, message me, coach, and I will send you the link to schedule an appointment, and we can just, we can talk, we can dig in, figure out what's going on with you and see if we'd be a good fit. Okay. Thanks for taking the time to listen.